Good, Data. Can you hear me?
Hello, can
Hey,
you hear?
how you doing?
Nice. Good, good. Long time no see. How are you?
Yeah.
How was the last few weeks for you?
Well, I'm doing very good. Last week was truly amazing with the announcement of Strapi 5, and it continues with all of these launch parties. So thanks a lot for organizing this event today.
Yeah, sure, sure. So
How are you doing?
we are looking forward to hear more from you. So I think that you can go ahead and share with us all the big news.
Awesome. All right. So I'll share my screen in a second. Here we go. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. So good evening, everyone. I cannot see you, but I can hear you. I heard the yes. So my name is Pierre. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Strapi. Strapi is a side project that we started a few years ago, 9 years ago, to be very precise. It's a project that we started. So Aurélien, Jim, and myself started this project when we were students. And we released the project on the 1st of October 2015. And so today is a very special day. It is the 9th anniversary of Strapi. So it's a lot of emotion that I'm sharing this because it has been a long journey. And at the same time, it's really amazing to see what the project became. So we started Strapi back in 2015 for a few reasons. The first one is that might have used traditional CMSs that are great for managing website content on websites only, but now the content needs to be displayed on multiple platforms. It can be a mobile application, it can be a watch, it can be whatever. We've seen companies managing ads on billboards. So really that content needs to be displayed on many platforms and not only websites. And even the way to create websites has completely changed. In a traditional content management system, you would have built all of your front end using the templating system of the traditional CMS. But as developers, and I imagine that there are a few developers in this room, we like to use front-end frameworks such as React, eventually with Next.js or Remix, Vue.js with Next or Astro or Angular, and there are plenty of front-end frameworks today. And those front-end frameworks, they really offer a much better developer experience, and they allow us to build much faster websites because there is no page reload, because a lot of pages can be cached and so on and so on. And yeah, the problem with traditional CMSs is that they were not a good fit for this. And so we decided to build our own piece of software. We started using it for our clients' projects, and we realized that plenty of developers, plenty of companies had similar needs. So that's at the time we were not even talking about headless CMSs. It was not even a thing. So we've built a CMS that had no front end, but it still that had an API to make the content available to all of these platforms. And of course, in 2018, the term headless really became popular. And so what makes Strapi unique is really that it's open source, it's fully customizable, and of course, it's headless. It has been a long journey. As mentioned earlier, it has been 9 years. We published the first commit on GitHub in 2015. At the time, we were students. And it's only in 2017 that we started being able to work full-time on the project. Before this, we were students. We're working as freelancers. We're working as a small digital agency because that was the best way for us to make revenue in the early days. But we realized that it was pretty hard for us to spend enough time on the open source project. Instead, we're spending 90% of our time doing custom development for our clients, which was fun, but which was not the best way to maintain the project and to improve the product for the existing community back in the days. So we decided to raise some money from investors. We've raised a $1 million pre-seed round in 2018. And that's really when we've been able to be even more full-time, because we've been able to start paying ourselves, which was a good thing, even if the amounts were low. And we've been able to hire some people on the team. And this has been a game changer. We started hiring people who are better than us, and we've been able to greatly improve the project, to grow the community. And this led us to our 4 million seed round, because back in the days, the number of stars on GitHub was already increasing pretty fast. And we could see some big logos using Strapi. And we also raised the $10 million Series A in 2020. So we are not making any revenue at the time. And so we started with the open core business model. So we have an enterprise edition of Strapi, which is an extension of the open source project. Whereas the Series B in 2022. And 18 months ago, we released Strapi Cloud, which is a platform as a service for Strapi projects. So as a developer, you install Strapi locally, you define the content structure, you eventually install some plugins, you do some customization, and once you're happy with your changes, it's time to go in production. And so you push all this to a Git repository, and you connect these repositories to Strapi Cloud, and we manage all of the hosting for you. We provide a Node.js server, a Postgres database, storage for the assets, everything you need. So this is our second business model. So it has been a journey, and yet it's only the beginning. Today, Strapi has reached more than 15 million downloads on NPM, 60,000 stars on GitHub, and 50 million downloads on Docker. We have more than 1,500 customers, and project is used by many companies, including all of these logos, which all are customers of Strapi. So Strapi is a content management system. This is what the user interface looks like. We're going to have a quick demo just after. And what really makes Strapi unique is that it's fully extensible. So there is a very large ecosystem of plugins. You can install integrations with Algolia, with plenty of other tools. There's a very large community. You can build your own plugins. You can benefit from the existing ecosystem of plugins. You can go on market.strapi.io, which is the marketplace of plugins, where you can find about 200 plugins developed by the community. And Strapi can be self-hosted. You can host it on your own servers, as this is open source. So you can host it on your own AWS, Azure, DigitalOcean, Google Cloud Platform accounts. So that's great, especially if your company cares about data privacy. We have a lot of banks, healthcare companies hosting Strapi on their own servers. And as mentioned earlier, now there is Strapi Cloud, and we offer the easiness of a SaaS solution for you. And so what that means for you, especially if you're a digital agency, for example, or freelancer, and that you build a lot of different projects within a year, this means that by using Strapi, you can build projects for both customers who want to host on their own servers and for customers who don't want to deal with this and just want to have a solution that's very easy. And so you can develop one single expertise with one CMS only and be able to offer great solutions to these two cases. And so because Strapi is extremely flexible, you can build corporate websites, editorial websites, e-commerce websites, mobile application, internal applications. It's really flexible. And last week, we released Strapi 5 stable that we're celebrating all together today. So thanks a lot for being here. Thanks a lot to Notum for organizing this event today. So Strapi 5 comes with a lot of improvements. The first one is draft and publish. So you can have two different versions of an entry. The other one is content history. So you can see the previous versions of an entry and roll back to a specific version. There are also a bunch of improvements related to the developer experience, such as TypeScript, the new API format, the new plugin CLI and SDK. We replaced Webpack with Vite. Dominic is going to share a lot of information about this technical improvements that are game changers for the developer experience. And what I'm going to showcase right now is the draft and publish feature and the content history. All right, so I'm going to shift to this tab, make my screen a little bit bigger. All right, so this is the Strapi interface. Here you have different sections. You have, for example, the content type builder. This is where you can define the content structure. So for example, I can say that I want every article to have one title, a description, a slug, a cover, etc., etc. This is also where you can create components, and that's a core concept in Strapi, because components are blocks that you can reuse in different places. And the idea behind this is that as a front-end developer, you often create front-end components, no matter if it's done with React or Vue or any other front-end framework. And so what you would want is to make these components dynamic. And so you can reflect the structure of these components in the CMS. So for example, you can say that every quote should have a title and a body. And these two fields will more likely be props of your front-end component. And with the help of dynamic zones, which are a type of field, you can allow non-technical people to build pages on the fly by allowing them to, within the dynamic zone, add a media, a quote, rich text, and any other kind of component that you will configure on Strapi. So that's very convenient. So this part is named the content type builder. There is also the media library. This is where you can upload assets, such as images, videos. Here is a marketplace. This is where you can install some plugins. There are many pages of plugins, as you can see here. And in the settings section, this is where you can create API tokens to request API from your front end. You can also configure releases to schedule content publication. You can add additional locals to translate your content in different languages. You also have some configuration for the media library. You have some the list of plugins that you have installed in your project. You can also define review workflows, which are ways to define the different steps before a piece of content is published. You can define single sign-on, transfer tokens to migrate content from one environment to another, the webhooks to trigger API endpoints when the content is updated. This can be very helpful to revalidate the content on the front end. And of course, you can manage the list of users as well as the roles for your Strapi project. All right, so that's just to give you the big picture. But what we really want to show today and to see is the content manager. So this is the main section of the CMS because that's where you're going to create and manage content. And so let's give it a try by creating a new article. So here in my new article, I can create an article about Notum and say, hey, Notum is an amazing digital agency, isn't it? All right, so I could add a description, I can add the slug. Of course, I could edit it if I want to. I could add an image. I could also define an author for this article. I could select some categories. And this is where I can also add some content. So I could add a rich text editor here, blah, blah, blah. And this is where I would explain why Notum is awesome. And I can save this entry. All right, and so as you can see here, I have a status here, which is draft. So my entry is currently in a draft mode. And if I click on published here, I cannot see the published version of this entry. And that's because I did not publish my entry yet. This is new in Strapi v5. This really the ability to have a draft version and a published version. All right, so let's move forward and click on publish. The status of my entry is now published. and I can see what it looks like in the published mode. I cannot edit the published version, and that's normal. It's because any update that I would make in the future, I would do it in draft. And so I can say, for example, that I updated the title of this entry. And if I save, it's saved. I can reload the page. I still have the updated status. I mean, the updated word, I should say, here in the title. The status is now modified. And if I click on published, I still have the entry. And this is very convenient because it means that my front-end application, which can be a Next.js application, let's take it as an example. My Next.js application will, in its production environment, pull the published version of my entry. So I make sure that anytime I edit some draft, I do not impact my published version, and so I do not publish my production version of my frontend. But at the same time, I probably want to have a preview of my updated version. And so you can imagine that the same Next.js application in its staging environment will pull the content in a draft mode. And that means that I will be able to see in my frontend the updated version of my entry and do all of my updates. And once I am happy with this updates, thanks to my preview system, I can click on publish. And now the entry has been published. So this is a game changer because it also reduces the need for having multiple environments for your Strapi instance, because within the production instance, you can have two different separate states for every entry. All right, so that's for the draft and published feature. And all of this combined with the content history feature is very powerful. So the content history feature is also one of the new improvements that comes with Strapi 5. And here we can see all of the previous versions of an entry. So you can see who has done what and when. Here in the latest state of this entry, we can see updated here. But if I take a look at the previous versions, here we go. I can see the initial version of this entry. All right. And well, let's consider that I want to go back to this version. I can click on restore here and confirm. All right, so now you can see that the updated word is not part of the sentence anymore. But the status is modified. So if we click on published, we still have the updated. And that's because I rolled back to a previous version, but now I just want to validate that change, and I want to confirm that I want to go back to this previous version in the published state. So all I need is to click on publish, and now if I go in published, I can see that the updated word is not there anymore. So that's it for the demo of draft and publish and content history. It has been a real technical challenge because we now need to have the history of the previous versions. We need to have two different states while having an API format that's very convenient. So that's why we had to do a major version with some breaking change, which are really well documented. But yeah, that's really a game changer when using Strapi 5. So that's it for the demo. I think we have some time for questions. So feel free to let me know if you have any. Thank you.
I guess it was a blast the last 9 years.
Yeah, it was. That's great. And we look forward to the next 9 years.
All right, so I will try to show you the people who are here on site on our professional setup. Hello.
Hi, everyone.
And we also have around the same amount of people on the stream. And now
Awesome.
it's time for questions. So, does anybody here have a question for Pierre? Don't be shy. All right.
Hey Peter, since like you were releasing Strapi 3 4 and 5, right? Is there any like chance of like releasing V6? Do you know approximately like when it's gonna be like
What is the big plan? Like how big, like how long will the V5 stay?
So you're asking for Strapi 6?
Yes, pretty much.
All right. Well, to be honest, it has been an internal joke during the last few days. So it might be live when we release Strapi 6. I don't know. We don't have a timeline for this. But we might do some other major releases in the upcoming quarters and years, and we will make smaller breaking changes. I think instead of doing massive new major versions, we'll release smaller ones, which are very easy to upgrade to.
Awesome. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for the question.
So I will also have one. So Pierre, are there any upcoming cool features to the version 5?
Yes, there is one that we are actively working on, which is preview. So we want you to be able to have previews within the Strapi user interface. This is one of the most requested features, and especially for content editors, they have the CMS in one tab in their web browser, they have the front end in the other tab. They don't have real-time previews, and this is something that we started working on, and it should be a game changer for content editors. We're also working on a TypeScript SDK, so this would be better in terms of developer experience. And we're working on a ton of small but important improvements. Instead of building like massive features, we are going to spend the next few months working on a lot of small improvements that will make a big difference. We've been working on a lot of big features over the past few years, and for the next few months, yeah, we just want to streamline the experience to make everything really, really smooth. So that's what we have on our roadmap for the short term.
And what is the main aim of Strapi in upcoming months and years? Developer experience or the content editor experience, or what is the main aim?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, well, our aim is to make Strapi the most popular CMS in the world, and we'll do everything for this. Now, in terms of developer experience versus content editors, I think that no CMS can win and can be great without one or the other. That being said, Strapi is the CMS that is really for developers mostly, and so the way I like to articulate it to emphasize the developer experience is that we want to build the headless CMS that developers love and that content editors enjoy. And so I think that means a lot on how much we want to double down on what makes Strapi unique, which is its developer experience, its customization capabilities, its ecosystem of plugins. And of course, we also want developers to be able to recommend Strapi in their companies and convince marketing teams and so on and so on. And that's why we're typically working on preview, and we'll continue working on a bunch of improvements regarding the editing experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks a lot. Any other questions? Okay.
Hi, I have a question. Maybe I didn't heard about it, but if you have any enterprise version for the Strapi V5, and what are the differences between the free kind of version of the Strapi and the enterprise one?
So I can share my screen very quickly. And by the way, all of this is on our pricing page if you want to see the difference. So as part of the Enterprise Edition, you have different features. One of them is releases. So you can create releases. So one release is, for example, you're going to make an announcement in 2 weeks from now because you have a product update in your company, because I don't know, any kind of big news, you're going to do that release, and you're going to schedule some content changes to be released within this release. So that's very convenient for marketing teams, especially. Another feature is single sign-on. So you can secure the Strapi application by using an authentication system such as Okta or Microsoft Azure Directory, this kind of tool that a lot of companies use. And this also means that if an employee leaves your company, they will not have access to Strapi anymore. So it's much better in terms of security. We also have the review workflows as part of the Enterprise Edition. And this is how you can define the different steps for the content to be reviewed before it's published. And this is quite powerful as it is combined with the role-based access control system. And with the Enterprise Edition, you also get the audit logs. So in the audit logs, you can see who has done what in the CMS. So you can see, for example, that Pierre Bogi published an entry at that specific date. You can see the difference here. So it's often a requirement for enterprises because they really want to track what has been done in the CMS. With the Enterprise Edition also comes support, and with an amazing support team that saves a ton of time to our customers. So that's what we offer with the Enterprise Edition. And of course, we also have Strapi Cloud, but that's for hosting the project.
Perfect. Thank you.
Right. Any other questions?
Thank you. Hello, thank you for your presentation. So my question will be somewhat related to what Andre asked actually, and it's about the content editor experience, because I'm also working for an agency, and my experience, hands-on experience with Strapi is somewhat limited. But last year we actually used Strapi for one of our clients, the very first. And we decided to move on from it to look for something new, because this particular client found it to be quite kind of cumbersome. We almost had to write manuals for them how to use it. And since I seen your demo, and again, very limited experience, the UI feels very technical to me. Like, it's not very visual, even with those new tabs. Again, it's a very subjective opinion. Are you hearing this feedback a lot, or were our clients just a bit special in this kind of way?
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing feedback. We always appreciate learning from your experience. And yeah, the editing experience could be better. And again, that's the exact reason why we are working on the preview feature, and that we're going to do a lot of improvements when it comes to the editing experience. So stay tuned. We are going to release a lot of improvements over the next few months. So yeah, I agree that some things could have been better, but a lot of improvements are coming during the upcoming months.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot. I think this is a general, maybe an issue with headless CMSs, that people would like to use they don't want to use traditional CMS anymore. They want to, reach out for all the pros from using headless CMS, but they would like to see the head part where you can change the things. And this is why the market, I think, is changing or merging, that many headless CMSs already come with the preview mode or something like that, which is basically the head feature, and all the standard or traditional CMSs are coming with the headless API.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, one of our priorities is to unify the front end and the CMS. I think they've been too much disconnected, but a lot of great stuff is coming.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
We have one question from the YouTube stream.
Okay, I think you need to speak here.
We have one question from the YouTube stream, and that is, are we going to provide an easy way to migrate from version 4 to version 5? Actually, the docs available is quite short. It's from Luis.
So we publish a lot of documentation on docs.strapi.io. We also released migration guides, migration scripts. We listed all of the breaking changes. So the process should be quite smooth. If you still have specific questions, feel free to join us on Discord. We will be happy to help you in that process. But we really documented everything we could, and the team has been doing an amazing job at doing this migration guides and script and the documentation. So everything should be smooth. If you have questions, feel free to join us on Discord. Feel free to ping me, and we'll see what we can do.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions? Okay. Stage is yours.
Thank you. Hi, so my question is related to the previous one. How about migration of existing plugins? Does it mean that all plugins for V4 stopped functioning for V5, or is there some, I don't know, middle way how to migrate it easily as well?
Yeah, this is a very good question. We've worked a lot with the community to upgrade the most downloaded plugins. And so most of them, they are already compatible with Strapi 5. If you've built your own plugins, which is great, you might also need to do some changes. And again, all of this is documented on docs.strapi.io.
Okay, thank you.
I can confirm that Strapi reached out to us and help us to migrate the plugins that were needed to be migrated. All right.
And Notum can help you with this.
Yes. Okay. So I think that was it from the questions. I have maybe one more last question. Maybe Pierre, if I'm somebody who wants to implement Strapi in my company and I want help from an agency, is there any agency that you would suggest?
I would suggest Notum.
All right, so I think that was it. Once again, thank you very much for the presentation, and we are very happy that we can have you here. And I wish you luck with upcoming years and upcoming challenges.
Well, thanks a lot for having me today. For organizing these events, thank you for using Strapi. Have fun together. You will discover all of the technical improvements with Dominic. Andre will tell you more about how they've used Notum at Strapi and talk more broadly about the headless CMSs. So enjoy your evening, enjoy the lunch party, and again, feel free to join us on Discord if you have questions.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Hi, everybody. Okay, so the next presentation is from Andre. Andre, feel free to join us. And Andre will show you why to use Strapi. Okay, Andre will tell you. I don't have to be here. Andre, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for the intro. Well, so Strapi V5 is out. What a time to be alive, right? We are very excited. My name is Ondřej Mikulčík. I'm a Strapi consultant and developer at Notum. If you've been in the Strapi ecosystem for a while, maybe we could have already met, for example, on GitHub, because I've been maintaining our open source plugin. But if you are new to Strapi, maybe you've just heard that the new version is out. You've heard that there are some exciting features. This presentation might be for you, because I will try to convince you that Strapi V5 is the right fit for your next project. So let's see why that might be the case. And if this is gonna work. Maybe not, I don't know.
You wanna help?
I just needed to click. So first things first, I think before talking about Strapi exactly, it is important to address when you should even consider using headless CMS, and in which cases it might not be too appropriate. So I'm sure that you all know that Strapi is a headless CMS, as explained in the previous speech. Headless CMS is headless because it's not coupled with any front end by default, and the content you manage in this CMS can be consumed via API. I don't think this is necessary for very simple projects like static pages that will have the same structure for years, that are some like only presentation pages about simple topics, or just really basic information pages. For those, you don't really need headless CMS. You can just code them in HTML, JavaScript, and if you need some dynamic content, you can use, I don't know, Airtable, Notion, or whatever. And on the other side of the spectrum, there are super complex applications that need real-time data syncing and some really advanced technologies. For example, trading applications and so on. Well, you can definitely include headless CMS as a part of your tech stack. You will need some other big guns as technologies in your project, but anything in between them, I think headless CMS is a great option, especially if you have many platforms that need the content. And also if you have many collection, many data, and it's especially nice to have some kind of CMS if there are many people managing the content, because CMSs provide streamlined flows to achieve that. So with that said, if you are building such an application, what are your options? There are actually quite a few. I listed some examples here, and there are plenty of others. Like there's tons of others that are less known. So why do I think that Strapi is the go-to CMS for your next project? Actually, there are quite a few reasons. and let's go over them. So with half of them, they operate on a software as a service basis. So that means there is a risk of vendor lock-in. Strapi is open source and the community version is free forever. So you don't really have to worry about prices of the plan you are using skyrocketing. I've heard some software as a service companies sometimes tend to double their pricing, even like triple, quadruple, and so on. And people still have to pay those prices, so there's nothing to worry about regarding that using Strapi. Another reason is its popularity. Here I tried to plot a chart of GitHub stars that each of the open source CMSs has. Of course, there are other CMSs that are open source, but Strapi is by far the most popular one. As you can see, it has over 60K GitHub stars. The second most popular is probably Directus, and it has only more than 20K, and the other competitors are following. And regarding the V5, it came out like 12 days ago, and people are already playing with it. It has had more than 16,000 downloads, and that's a weekly number, so that's probably more because it was released more than a week ago. So it has already some traction, which is great, I think. Okay, but why is popularity even important? I think, come on, maybe you are like this Sigma male developer. I'm going to go against the crowd. I don't need popular technologies. I'll just use what I like. Sometimes you might get stuck in your projects, and it's good to get help somewhere. So that's why I think popularity matters. And there are quite a few places to get help when you are using Strapi. For example, they have 2,000 plus Discord members. There are plenty of members on Strapi Reddit. There is a Strapi forum, and you can post questions also on Strapi GitHub. And to be honest, the community is really vibrant and helpful and friendly. And also, I was quite surprised because when working with other CMSs, they usually had a community manager or someone managing their forums. And when you posted a question that was technical, they just linked you to some FAQ or whatever. But with Strapi, it kind of frequently happens that someone from the core team goes and answers your question. So they are super helpful and friendly, and this is definitely nice to see. Also, there's a plethora of plugins that you can extend your project with, but more on that later. Another reason that I see is Strapi uses technology that you probably already know if you are a developer and love. I think it's great that they adhere to some standards in tech space because with a lot of other CMSs, they tend to craft their own solutions, kind of. As you can see here on the right, I was trying some CMS that I will not name now, but they invented their GraphQuery API. It looks like GraphQL. It kind of works like GraphQL, but it's not GraphQL. And I was really pulling my hair out of my head trying to figure out how that works. The documentation was lame, so I'm really happy that Strapi uses like standard technologies, REST API, GraphQL, TypeScript, and React. They also are trying to stay up to date. With V4, we were still mostly running on JavaScript, and the bundler of use was Webpack. Now they updated it to TypeScript and Vite, so the builds are quite fast. That's very nice. Okay, so if that hasn't still convinced you, you can save time on development costs because, for example, when you need to create a new data collection, you can do it in Strapi in a matter of few clicks. That's easy peasy, right? That's something you can also do in other headless CMSs, but when you look what is generated under the hood with other CMSs, I was sometimes struggling to understand what has just happened because they use some kind of architecture that's very specific to their project, or they were closed source, so I had no luck in trying to edit the underlying logic. With Strapi, they generate a route handler for you, controllers, services, and so on. And I think this is like the most standardized way in the industry. So you can just jump right into it and understand right away what's going on and edit the logic as you need, if you even need that. And I would also like to compare it maybe to generating this CRUD, like create re-update module with Nest.js or to Nest.js. I know that I'm comparing apples and oranges here a bit, but with Nest you can also run like Nest resource command, and it will generate controllers and services for you as well. But you still need to wire that up to your ORM, and it just takes a lot more time. With Strapi, you just hit save, and when the server restarts, you get functioning API with many features such as filtering and searching and so on out of the box, and you would have to implement that in Nest.js. So since it's open source, you can also extend it however you like. There are more than, or not more than, almost 200 plugins on the Strapi market. I think you can still use many of them with V5, but as you've heard during the last presentation, they are either updated already or they are just being updated. So I think they will be V5 compatible pretty soon. So if you are missing any feature in Strapi, chances are someone has already been missing this feature before you, and there's already a plugin available for you. And if that's not the case, you can always develop your own plugin. Actually, we've done that multiple times, and 3 of the plugins we created are also available on the Strapi market, so feel free to download them and plug them in your projects. And since Strapi v5 is now written completely in TypeScript, it's now easier to patch Strapi admin. With v4, there were some some files that contained already precompiled JavaScript, and it was a bit painful to patch. But now I was looking at the source code, and it should be pretty easy. So I'm very happy to see that. Also, one of the things that I like about Strapi is that new versions with killer features come very often. Maybe some are expecting V6 already. But anyways, they are moving pretty fast. V3 was released in 2020, then V4 came in 2021, and since V4 was packed with new features and was pretty stable, we had to wait a bit for V5. But anyways, like new major release released this often, it's fine. And there are also a lot of new features coming in minor releases. For example, I think in 4.6 we got a role-based access control in the community edition. So Strapi is really really developing CMS that has great features, and the community edition is like totally usable. As Pierre has mentioned, you can host it on Strapi Cloud or wherever you like. It can be Dockerized, so you can play around with it on your local machine and then just deploy it somewhere. Okay, so for the past couple of minutes, I've been talking about how Strapi is amazing. So are there any drawbacks? Yes, maybe painful migrations, but that's not true anymore. We've done a test migration from V4 to V5, and it was pretty quick and easy. It's not bug-free, but no software is, and they are fast to fix bugs. It can be quite costly to host, but compared to software as a service solutions where you need some advanced plans, it's still cheap. And Pierre has already shown you the new draft and publish feature. So the biggest drawback that I saw was a lack of drafts is kind of solved. So the promised land is that you will have a CMS from which you can control content to various platforms with many translations, and the marketing teams will be happy that they have the tool that's fast and reliable. Okay, so if you are looking for a development partner, because I've convinced you that Strapi is great, I think the obvious partner would be Notum, because we know our way around Strapi. We've been in the ecosystem for so long. We've got many great colleagues. We've finished over 100 projects for our clients, and we are fun to work with. So, is Strapi the perfect solution? Maybe not, but I haven't found anything better. So, for me personally, Strapi is the headless CMS of my choice, and I'm very happy that V5 is finally out, and I'm looking forward for another features. So now it's time for Q&A. Thank you. Okay, anybody, any questions if we have time?
How many told you? YouTube is 30 seconds behind, so we need to wait.
Okay, elevator music sound. Okay, Jirka.
I know you worked on like many plugin and like the open source features. Like, what is the biggest thing you are looking forward? Is it only the TypeScript in the V5, and maybe what is your also biggest learning from on like maintaining so many open source plugins for Strapi?
So thank you for the question. Regarding the plugin development, the Strapi released new SDK for that, so I will have to inspect what's new, and it looks like they are going to make life for the plugin developers easier, so that's great. And my biggest learning is that there are a lot of people that will just want bug fixes, and they will just open issues and expect that the core team will fix it, and that's okay. But there are also like individuals who roll their sleeves up, and out of nowhere submit a pull request with a huge new feature, and I was really surprised to see that, how someone from Strapi community is helping on our plugins. So there's a lot of work with smaller bug fixes, but with the big tasks, there might be someone to help you, and I was really appreciative of that. So that's it.
And we are exactly on time.
Great.
So, any other questions? No? So, all right. Thank you a lot for your presentation. I know it's very hard to have one. And to the rest of our group and to our online session, see you again in 15 minutes, right? I think we still have some drinks. So, suit yourself and see you later.
One more Google time, and then we turn off the light.
Okay, and now the last presentation will be held by Dominic, and this one will be more technically focused, right?
Yes.
Okay, so Dominic, wish you luck with the presentation.
Thank you. All right, hello everyone. Glad to see so many Strapi enjoyers joining us both on site and online on the stream. My name is Dominic Juriga. I am the tech lead of the Strapi team over here at Notum. We are developing Strapi-centric solutions to our clients, whether it's a simple page builder website or a large-scale tournament manager with almost every tournament system in the universe developed in Strapi. So that's really nice. And beyond Notum, if you manage to catch me afterwards, I like to talk about coffee, cycling, 3D printers, and basically any technology. So we can catch up later after the presentation. All right, I'm going to start with the agenda for today. We are basically going to be talking about things that have already been sort of brushed on, but I'm going to go a little bit deeper into what it actually means for the developers of Strapi. So first we are going to be talking about Vite, how it impacts the developer experience and how it's going to make your life a little bit easier. Then we are going to talk about TypeScript. Finally, we've got full TypeScript support, which is native, so that's awesome. Then we are going to be talking about the plugins, which have already been mentioned multiple times. Then something a little about how the entity service is changing into documents. And finally, I've said the best for last, we are going to be talking about the flattened API responses from the API. So, Vite. Many of you probably know Vite from working with your front-end frameworks, mainly probably from Vue and lately also from React. So in Strapi v5, Vite is going to be the default bundler for Strapi applications. This means that you can benefit on the front end of Strapi with hot modular placements, which is going to be awesome if you are working with the design system, plugins, and so on, which also rely on updates to the front end of Strapi. And also the total build size of the applications is going to be reduced. So realistically, we are talking about approximately 15% reduction in build time and also 15% reduction in build sizes, which may not sound as much, but if you have a larger application, this is going to be really nice as a developer, especially if you are not on the latest hardware. Then we also have some features which are for the future. So there are some features in Vite that are not available yet, such as the environments, which are going to provide a platform for you to separate the concerns of the server and the front end, which is going to be nice. And Strapi has basically enabled itself to use this feature in the future. And also, the world is basically moving into modular world, if I say so. And yeah, so Vite is great with ES modules. We are basically slowly moving from the common JS ecosystem into a modular world, which is going to be, we are going to be able to utilize this in Strapi to further enhance the performance of the applications. But you don't need to worry, Webpack is not going away just yet. It's also going to be supported in v5. So if you have existing custom configs and so on, you are going to be just fine with using Webpack. So the bottom line of Vite, it works as advertised. The gains are not really too big, too small. It's working just right, and you are better for the future. All right. Now TypeScript. Finally, Strapi has been rewritten from ground up in TypeScript. This was one of my biggest pet peeves with v4, that the core code was written in JavaScript and then they basically slapped TypeScript just a little bit so that you can get a taste of what's going to be in v5, but not full implementation. So this has been completely rewritten, and we are going to enjoy it so much so that we do not get any more runtime errors from lazy pull request reviewers. So, as I said, this is not a surface level. This has been a complete rewrite with the embracement for TypeScript. This basically built on the foundational work which has been laid before, but it's been a lot more polished. So you do not need to use janky imports from the dist build folder, which is going to crash on the production and so on. Everything is now in the Strapi namespace, which can be extended and modified to your liking. Another key improvements in terms of TypeScript is that now you are finally going to be able to use these types natively in your front-end applications. So for example, if you have a monorepo where you have a front-end and the Strapi backend, you are going to be able to utilize these types directly in the front-end. It has been sort of working with v4, but there was the issue that relational types didn't really work due to the data and attribute wrappers, which caused all sorts of issues. So that should be solved in the v5. So the bottom line, a happy IntelliSense means a happy developer. You get all the types and everything, so you can be more productive, and the v5 delivers a smoother experience on all fronts. Plugins. We've talked about plugins a lot. Also, Pierre mentioned plugins, and developing them is much easier than ever before. Before, if you wanted to implement a plugin, you needed a Strapi instance, then you needed to import the plugin, and basically every time you change something, you needed to stop the application, build the Strapi application, launch the dev server, and then you could finally test that your changes didn't work. So that's basically something that's going away. They've developed a new SDK, which you can use to start a watch of the plugin. You can verify that the plugin is fit for publishing, either on NPM repository or also on the Strapi marketplace, if that's what you're going for. Yeah, now I know that every developer loves TLAs, the three-letter acronyms. We've got plenty of them. So we've got the CLA, we've got the SDK in plugins. So you basically use the CLI to model content and create interactions with your content. So you can create the controllers, the services, the lifecycles, and so on. And you are going to use the SDK more towards the publishing side of things. And you can also, actually, which is new to Strapi v5, you can develop the plugins without actually having a Strapi instance running. So they've positioned themselves such that each plugin is basically a mini Strapi instance. So you can develop them independently. You don't need a running Strapi instance at all. And migrating plugins to v5, if you have any v4 plugins, honestly, there is a migration tool, but I would say just bite the bullet and start anew and copy the logic that you need. I've heard people say that the documentation is not great. I would say that it's really great if you know how to search it. There is maybe a 5-page document on how to change everything that was deprecated in v4 to v5. I've actually done it. It's not a simple task, but it's manageable, and I think, as I've mentioned, the documentation is really great, and the team is also very helpful. So if you listen to Ondra, they've got the Discord and forums and Reddit and everything, so they are definitely willing to help you. So the bottom line, developing and maintaining plugins is easier than before. It's just less of a hassle if that's what you do. Now, they've deprecated entity service and moved towards document service. This is somewhat of a complicated topic. They've mainly done it to enable the content history feature, which you've seen Pierre demo. And despite being agnostic in terms of use case, so like they do not want to position themselves as the best CMS for page builder, they are really trying to be agnostic here. but I would say that it is still a content management history at heart, so putting the emphasis on content. And versioning of history is a natural development for a CMS. It's not easy to design, believe us, we've tried, failed many times and fixed it. But we are happy that it's finally off our shoulders and Strapi team is carrying it for us. One important thing to note, it is not opt-in in V5. It is enabled by default on all content types that you are going to model. So there's that. If you are a cloud user, this is not an issue. You do not need to worry because the limits of your Strapi cloud are going to be counted on documents, not the version history counts. So 10 versions of a document is still increases your limit by 1. So no worries there. Then they've simplified the database. So now if you are modeling content, let's say you've created a collection which is draft and publish enabled. So you would now have a published at column. And if you didn't use draft and publish, there would be no published at column. Similar for localization. If you are using it, the column would be there. If not, it wouldn't be there. Now it's enabled for all to simplify the database and to simplify the logic. And the document service, which is completely new, works as you would expect. So if you are used to using entity service, you would feel right at home until you don't. So if you use the find one, find many, and so on, you would expect that natively the logic would be that you would want the published content to be returned, but for some reason Strapi decided that you are going to get the drafts by default. So if you want to get the published results, you are going to have to specify a filter. And then there are some new methods that you can utilize. So there are publish, unpublish, find first, and discard draft, which is something that you could already do via the API, but this just simplifies it for you. Yeah, and you can also unpublish or publish content within the status attribute. Before that, you would have to use the published attribute and set it to null if you wanted to unpublish, and it was cumbersome and not really straightforward. So the bottom line, I'm not sure about it just yet. I didn't get too much experience with V5-based projects. So we are going to have to see and each examine the use case that we have. And finally, I've left the best for last. Based on a recent survey on a sample size of 1, which was me, I can proudly say that the best feature in V5, I cannot believe that this is happening, guys, is that the team at Strapi has simplified the API response. So we are no longer going to have pull requests such as this. Having to use the .hell of attributes that are not required. This was my favorite part. It made the types not work. It made such a long ass code. It just wasn't great. So I'm happy to see that they are going away from this. And this is basically what I would say, that Strapi team has finally realized that entities usually in the real world have attributes, which is natural to me. And we do not need to say that they have them. There's also the incremental adoption for your project. So if you do not want to update the front end to the new structure, you can just use the header, which you can see on the screen. It's the Strapi response format. You can specify that you want the V5, and you can update Strapi now and migrate the front end later if that's what you're going for. And finally, there are not going to be double standards, because what I found the most difficult with the entity service is that entity service returned the data without the attributes wrapper, while the API always returned it with the API wrapper. So if you had any custom endpoints, the types would not work and the structure would be completely different. Sure, you could use the transform response method, which is not documented anywhere in the documentation, but you could search the Strapi code and see for yourself. And yeah, that's basically everything from me. Thank you for your attention, and I'm going to answer questions, which I'm sure there will be plenty. The first question.
You said that you had some experiences from with migrating from V4 to V5. Yes. What do you think is the most difficult obstacle on front-end part?
Do you mean front end of Strapi or the front end?
The front end of the application that you have.
So like Vue and React and so on?
Yes.
I don't think...
Is it a lot of work to do, or?
I don't think it is a lot of work to do, since you can just use the Strapi response format v4 and it's just going to stay the same. If you are talking about upgrading the admin interface of Strapi, is that what you are talking about?
No.
Well,
is it really same since you are using document ID? They move to like unique strings and not really IDs as you are normally using in V4 and 3.
okay, so the question was, I am just going to reply since I didn't give the microphone to our beautiful colleague here. It was an expansion of the previous question, whether the response is going to be the same in terms of the document ID and so on. All right, so that will be one small change. I don't think that everybody is going to use the content history feature. But sure, the document ID is now going to be included in the responses. You can choose to use it, and I believe that you should choose to use it, because I don't believe that using the identifiers in the database is going to be correct anymore. So yeah, there's that. But I think that if you do not use the content history feature and you use the response header, it's going to be basically the same. Unless you enable the content history feature, which is going to break your entire front-end application, but it's fine. All right, another question.
What would you recommend to bigger clients having like V4 projects and now thinking about V5? Like, what is the next step? Like, is it to wait? Is it to get your feet wet a bit? Like, what is the thing you would recommend?
Yeah, so I will recommend them to contact a certified Strapi partner such as Notum. We've got plenty of experience. Yeah, but in terms of development, I would say it is basically going to depend on how many plugins you use. There are plenty of plugins which are really useful, and basically I would say that some projects cannot do without them, which have not been migrated yet. So if you feel like it, you can basically migrate them for themselves and create a pull request. But if it's a simpler project, if it's like page builder or something, then I believe that you can use it right now. You can migrate to it. But if you have a reliance on a plugin which has not been migrated yet, then I would say that you just cannot use it right now. All right, many questions.
Okay, so have you had time to check how life cycles are working now, or what's your take on that? I think you need to use middlewares now or something like that. If you haven't had time, that's okay.
Yeah, I believe that I didn't have time, so that's answer to the first question. Yeah, I think that they've moved away from life cycles at all. I'm not sure if they've been completely deprecated, but I believe that they want to move people away, since they are quite useful, but they are not straightforward to follow. So like, you can have a lifecycle which is reacting to changes in your content, but the developers may not even know that it's there, and then they are looking why there is a behavior which is not described in the controller. So you have to know that there is a lifecycle file somewhere in the content, and I think that there are better ways to implement this. So no, I did not have the time to implement lifecycles yet, and I think that it's correct that they are moving away from it. I'm not sure if I'm going home today with all these questions.
Okay, so what about Strapi Cloud? Does it support both version 4 and 5, or how is the migration there?
Yeah, Strapi Cloud right now supports both versions, but they are strongly encouraging you to upgrade to V5, but you have to do it yourself. It's like they are going to provide assistance, you have access to support, but all the hard work is basically left up to you and to the mercy of developers of the plugins which you are using. Going to the back.
Okay, you maybe answered this question already, but I have to ask, if there is persisted the ID and the document ID, what are you using for the finding one, updating one, and so on?
Okay, so if you are using the document service, I think it's self-explanatory that you would use document ID. Right now it's... For the API, I mean? Yeah, also for the API, this applies to both. You are going to have to rely on the document ID. I don't believe that there is currently a native way to search for collections with the ID. You can still use the Strapi DB query tool to search for IDs, but I don't believe that. I don't think you can even filter for IDs.
Another question, if you can filter by ID.
I don't think you can filter by IDs. You have to use the DB query utility. Another question in the back.
Hello, Domo. I have a question about TypeScript and how like TypeScript works internally between services and controllers. Because usually now in V4 you write like Strapi service its name and then call function without any TypeScript support. Like you can call anything. And do you know how it works in V5?
I am pleased to say it works great. So since it's now natively supported, the types are everywhere, even in the controllers, the services. So you even get the context of the request typed, which is really cool. So now you do not have to second guess yourself every time you are doing a custom controller logic anywhere. Another question?
Okay. What about the transferring or sharing the types between the backend and the frontend?
I believe I've talked about this. It's working great. It was working before in V4. However, anytime you needed to get a type of a relation, the types will just fall apart. And now with the new structure that you do not have the attribute wrapper, it should be working fine. I've tested it on 2 relations, and that's something I didn't mention, and also Pierre didn't mention, which I'm kind of curious about. If you've ever wanted to nest content more than 2 layers deep, you couldn't, but now supposedly it's up to 6 layers deep. So the types should be working also if you are nesting 6 layers deep into the content.
Maybe one more. Imagine that you are talking to a CEO who have not programmed for a while. How do you transfer the type between the backend and the front end? And even if you make some customizations to the return type.
Okay, very specific questions. How we do it, there are probably multiple ways, but we usually have a monorepo architecture. So this means that you can share the code between the application, and that's basically what we are doing. We are using the TypeScript utility of Strapi, which generates our types. And then we share it in the monorepo, which you can basically pull into your front end and use the contents that are automatically generated on every start of the application. So even if you change some attributes of a content type, you do not need to do any changes to the TypeScript. It just automatically updates it. And it will also crash your front-end builds if there are any changes and you are accessing attributes that are not already existing.
I have a question from the YouTube. You mentioned plugin migration. Is there a publication or a planned stream where I can see it?
Are you talking about our plugins? Is the question.
I think like general, also ours.
In general, it is completely up to the developers of the plugins. Many of the plugins that you will use in Strapi are maintained by people who do it for free, so I don't think it's fair to ask them to migrate it straight away. If it's a Strapi plugin, I believe if it's not already migrated, it's being worked on, and Notum plugins are being worked on. The record locking plugin has been migrated and is on pull request right now, and the location plugin is upcoming in October, I believe. Okay, another CEO question.
I'm going to use this opportunity to learn a lot. So, what about the documentation of the API? I remember that that was not the best thing at Strapi v4. Swagger.
Yeah, so the documentation has been a key point in all of the talks that we've had with the team over at Strapi. They are saying that they've worked on it so much, and I believe them. The V5 documentation has improved a lot and now contains references to the methods which we've had to search for in the repository for ages, but now they are included, so there are some improvements there. I don't think it's perfect. It's actually far from that. But if we are talking about the migration, the documentation has just been stellar. I mean, any issue that I needed fixed in terms of migrating the plugin, the answer is already there. And if it wasn't, it was my fault. So
I meant specifically API documentation. For example, Swagger or any other utility that we can use.
yeah, so the utilities are basically the same. The toolset has not changed. What's made the improvements to the documentation of the API is they made the structure more simple, which improved the documentation of the API. But the toolset is the same. It generates some JSON, which contains the open API documentation. This is still the same. All right, seems that there are no more questions. So once again, thank you for attention. And I see that there are still some drinks, so now I'm also going to have one. So see you on the next meetup. Thank you.
All right. So now I'm going to switch to different presentation with a little bit of help. All right. So, Dominic, thank you very much for the presentation. If you haven't already, I would love you to join our growing meetup community. Stay connected, get all the updates from us, see the future events, ongoing discussions, etc., etc. So, see you at the meetup. That's one thing. Another one, I say this all the time and never ever anybody reached to me, but if you want to be the next speaker on our next meetup, please reach out, and I mean that, really, please. We are always happy to have any speaker, even with no experience at all. So maybe next time the people who had questions today, I don't know, maybe. So we are very happy to have a speaker that is not from our company. All right, the feedback. Like I already said, and Gabcha gave me a hard time if I will not say this correctly. So please scan this and fill in the feedback.
Right now.
I'm not being pushy, but I will wait. I have time. Tony? Yeah, it's very anonymous. Yes. But feel free to put this feedback into the feedback form. And basically, I don't want to interrupt you. Captcha. People are actually feeling the feedback. Okay, and basically that was it. A huge thanks to everybody who will able to join us for today, both here and on the stream. I hope that you learned something and that you met new people. Stay connected. You can, how do you say it? You can subscribe us on the social networks. We have a lot of news about Strapi and our events and all the things. And I hope that I will see you next time. And I hope that you will not leave now, because still we have some things on the bar, and we can stay here until I think 10. And after that, if you want, you can join us. We are going to the city. We have a favorite bar there, so you can join us there. So thanks once again, everybody who joined us today and on the stream. And yes, as I already said, see you next time. Sure. maybe one more thing that I forgot to mention. But if you are interested in seeing more how to migrate specifically plugins, you can watch Strapi Partner Stream on 5th November, where Dominic and Michelle will be showing how to do that. That's it.